Welcome to Business Influencers with TALRadio. My name is Chris Salem, your host.
If people would understand the talents that they have, it doesn't mean they have to move vertically. It just means it would give them confidence to know how to move anywhere.
You know, vision is something that is given to us. It's imparted into our heart.
I just want to do what we want to do, right? There's a very defined focus of why I started this company, and that's what I want to do.
Thank you for introducing 50 business influencers. Congratulations for the 50th episode milestone. Let's make it a 100.
Welcome to Business Influencers. Hope everyone is having a great week. We want to thank you listeners each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, the show continues to grow. We highly encourage you to check us out at TALRadio.org. There you'll find many of our great shows that we've had on since October of last year. We're approaching 1 year that the show has been out. And each week we bring in subject matter experts to share their words of wisdom and insights to help move you and your business to the next level. Again, check us out at talradio.org. Also, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and our YouTube channel at TALRadio, T-A-L Radio. Well, our show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types, an opportunity to rekindle old relationships and meet new people for the first time. What's great about Alumni Direct, it takes all the noise out of social media. No more notifications and all these types of people that are trying to reach out to you. This is a way to generate genuine, authentic relationships. You get to come in on your time because it's a membership program. And as a member, you're also are entitled to have a wide array of different services that can be offered to you and whatever business that you're in that you would normally not have access to anywhere else. Feel free to check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the changing state of sales. And I myself was in sales for many years, over 20 years. And I really am looking forward to this one here. And we're going to be here today with Eric Balis. He is a fractional VP of sales. He helps owners of companies realize the maximum value of their company by accelerating their revenue production and helping their sales team achieve excellent and repeatable results. He concentrates on helping small and mid-sized companies optimize their sales strategy, process, education. Eric helps companies transform their sales culture, implement new sale processes and procedures, and instill best practices. His focus is not just on the strategic level, but also on the tactical level to help companies achieve record-breaking sales results. And you're going to learn a little bit today where you can get in touch with him and connect with him at the end of the show. And without further ado, we welcome Eric Balis to the show. Eric, how you doing?
I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you very much for the introduction.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm so happy that you're here. I wanted to, talk about, the current state of where sales is, or better yet, where was sales and where are we today, right now, to set that foundation for those that are listening that run businesses or have an occupation that revolves around sales.
So I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks. So if you could think of sales over the last 20 to 25 years, it has constantly evolved, mainly from just an outbound strategy to an inbound, outbound strategy to a multi-channel strategy. So you have to really have all the facets of those channels involved or you won't be successful. You got to have inbound, you got to have outbound, and a combination of multiple touch points with customers, or you won't be successful.
Wow. Awesome. That's awesome. So what are some of the things like right now, so many organizations right now are looking for these, these different ways they can, get in front of customers and generate interest. There's so many different things now out there, but what are you seeing right now, if you're looking at like you're a typical company, a small business, or it could be a small corporation to a mid-sized corporation, since there's a lot of them out there in that size range, what do you see are some of the best practices that can move a business forward, in terms of sales?
Best practice is to have a multi-touch point strategy. It's going to take anywhere between 6 and 12 touch points to actually get somebody interested in what your product or service is going to sell. So it's no longer a one and done. It's multiple touch points, always giving something of value to them, and following up on a regular basis. It's no longer a one conversation and it's going to sell itself. It's not like that anymore. It's going to be, you have to establish a relationship, establish rapport, establish value, and really be involved in the process.
Yeah, I love that when you said it, because it is about, it's moved away from a transaction to a relationship. And it's almost that, you have to position yourself as not just with what you do and what you provide, but as a trusted advisor to, what's really important to the customers you serve. It might not be, everything that you provide, in your business, but that as a resource that you're helping them, that you've listened to them, you related to them, they felt heard, they feel that you understand them, then they're more likely. What would you recommend? Like, what would be, like a process that you would go about, helping somebody, a company to really, build that relationship with a customer, and then where it could go from there?
So I think it all starts with the first conversation that you have with them and doing a proper discovery with them. I think that's where, people either are successful or not successful in their process, because, if you glean what's important to somebody in that first conversation, where are their points of pain, kind of where are they trying to go with their business, what are their goals, you'll be able to relate that in your subsequent conversations with them. If not, you're just putting throwing these spaghetti against the wall kind of theory, and you're seeing what sticks. And you probably will not be successful at that, because buyers today are too informed. They have the internet, they have multiple places to go for information. So what they're coming to you more educated than they were 10 15 years ago. So they kind of know more about your product and service. They're looking for where the value points are and what value you add as a salesperson, and what your company is going to add value to their business.
It's so true. Like it was funny that, yesterday I was talking to a gentleman, we developed a relationship over 3 conversations, and he's involved in lead gen, helps different businesses in terms of, it's like a platform, like, on LinkedIn and stuff like that. But the approach that he had was that when he led the conversation initially, it had nothing to do with the company. It was all about, just something that he felt that he can connect with you on, and that we could have a conversation around. And I found that very interesting because, because again, we just assumed, this guy is going to call, he's going to try to tell me how great this is and, try to get me in. And it wasn't like that. And I really respected the guy because he really was practicing everything that you were just saying right here. And that we hope that becomes less, that becomes more prevalent as we go forward. But it was just a prime example of what you just stated.
I mean, having that connection with your prospect and your customer is so important, because they have choices. People have options. It's not just there is not just one company doing a certain thing anymore. There's multiple companies, and you have to separate yourself, and you separate yourself by that relationship and, what you are going to do for them. It's about serving the customer and, not the what's in it for me, the, if I'm principle, I think that, that it's tongue in cheek, but, I have to tell you, people have to get away from that. If they get away from that and they really get to serving their prospects and serving their customers with things of value, they're going to be more successful.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's great. I love all what you're saying. Now, what would you say, Eric, they're companies that could be in different phases of where they're at. Maybe they don't have the budget or the capacity to bring in a robust sales team. Maybe they just have, one person, a few people. What do you recommend in those areas? Do you recommend that, again, I know those people have to go out and build those relationships, but would there be other resources that you recommend that would be involved to help start nurturing those relationships behind the scenes or complementing what that point person's already doing?
Sure. I think it's in two ways. It's what you have, internally, and maximizing the relationships as a company that you have, and working your network, your personal networks, as a company. And then two is if you can't bring somebody on full time, bring somebody on a fractional basis, or use a company like you were saying for lead generation, where your one salesperson could be more productive. They could be more productive, have more productive meetings, have more productive conversations, and use their time wisely. I think it comes down to budgeting time and budgeting money and getting the most out of your salesperson on a daily and a weekly basis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, again, so resources, I find can be very helpful. But, and like you said, but what about, you talked about earlier, values, and I always like to always throw in the word consistency. So connecting on values can be very important, but the consistency doesn't mean that you're calling these people every day, that would probably be good, but being consistent with just your process of moving things along. Because I think a lot of times people, especially, even seasoned salespeople, can fall into they're not always consistent. So if we could talk about that.
I think if you have a process and you follow a process, whether that's a call and then, a couple days later, an email, and then a call again, and then an email a couple days later over a 3-week period, and then, recycle that every quarter, kind of over the 13 weeks. So they get touched every, 13 weeks. And you constantly give them on whether that's a monthly basis or bi-monthly basis, whether that's a newsletter or, something that comes out from your company that you want to tell them, kind of something new, and you give them something of value. It's kind of that's more the drip campaign. That's more on the drip, as opposed to, turning on the spigot and going, really fast at them. I think it's a combination of both, but, you constantly are in front of them. But when you're in front of them is giving them something of value that they're going to, take from that is, they're not just calling to call, there's calling to call and checking off a box. But at the end of the day, having the right consistent message and, being more apt to, what's important to them.
Yes.
Everybody's going to have something important. Kind of what you said in the beginning is establish that relationship and, knowing more about your customers and your prospects.
Yeah, exactly. And I always felt, like I said, just like when somebody feels like they understand you, even when you first met them, like, hey, did they check out my LinkedIn profile? Maybe they looked at my website. They looked at something online, like, oh, wow, they took the time to really get to know you. And yeah, you kind of feel good about that. Like you feel like, now I can connect with this person. There's something, I can connect with that person. What would you say, like, again, if there's a company out there that's struggling right now in bringing in more sales, like you talked about some great points, and maybe, again, they just don't have the bandwidth. I mean, there are services out there like you even the company that you run, Sales Xceleration. Talk a little bit about like where that, they can tap into resources like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of resources they can tap into, not just sales resources, but, marketing resources that, classically you would have had to hire a full-time person. Now you can hire somebody on a fractional basis where you get the expertise from somebody on a fractional basis. In my company, I could come in and, establish what you need to on the infrastructure of sales and really lay the right foundation. It's kind of like a house, Chris. When you build a house, you build from the foundation up. I consider what I do more of the plumbing. It's not the sexy part of the house. You don't walk into the house when you're buying a house and say to the real estate agent, "Can I look at the plumbing?" Well,
Yeah.
you want the plumbing to work.
Well,
You want the
exactly.
plumbing to
Yeah.
work.
That's just, again, that's like, yeah, and a lot of times we just assume, well, the plumbing works fine, the electrical works fine, or the foundation, it must be rock solid. Obviously, this house wouldn't be standing up if it was.
Right. You don't go in, you don't go out to the side of the house and start to kick the foundation and go, this is solid. But what you need to have is a defined sales process. It comes from, your people, your process, and your technology, really 3 areas. And it's really working all 3 areas and having the right people in place. And it's tough today. This is a tough market, a tough market for labor in general. And especially on the sales side is, salespeople are quote unquote at a premium. It's an employee driven market today, where when you're even attracting talent, you have to have something of value for them. You got to have something of value to offer them.
Yes. Now let's talk about that, because again, there are salespeople and then there are salespeople. That mean there are going to be different people with different levels of experience, but it's not necessarily always just the experience that can be. Like I remember meeting a gentleman that was 25 years old, young guy, probably had maybe 4 years, if best, sales experience. I felt like when I was talking to them, being in sales for a number of years, that this young man had so much knowledge, not that was based on the experience of sales itself, but just how he conducted himself and connected and created conversation. And it was just amazing. So sometimes it's more than just the experience. It's just that, that you're connecting with people based upon, how to, generate a conversation and how to ask questions and build that rapport. I found that astonishing for, a young man of this gentleman's age, how he was able to do that and win people over as a result of it.
I think it comes down to the 2 A's. The 2 A's is first the attitude, is having, a positive attitude, and really, are they going to be able to fit into your company's culture? Or are they going to be able to be trained, to be molded, to be coached? And then the second A is the aptitude. Do they have the aptitude to adapt and really understand your product or your service? So it doesn't just come from experience. And you could take someone with less experience that has the 2 A's and make them successful, as opposed to somebody with 30 years experience that has been successful. They may not be successful.
Yeah, teaching old dog new tricks, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, well, I don't want to say that, but I think it's really a mixture of both. I mean, you want to have a combination.
I 100% agree. Experience is an important thing. I've always advocated, even being a business executive coach, that experience is always more important than a certification or education in itself. It's the experience. But if it's coupled with people that know how to connect and relate to people,
right,
regardless of the experience, that also can really be powerful as well. No question.
I think I'll go back to when I was younger. When I first got into sales, and listening to one of the people that has influenced my life, the most was my grandfather, who's not here anymore. He passed away. But what he said is he never graduated the 8th grade. But he went into a business where he was a butcher in New York. They worked in the butcher shop for 20 years, and then they bought the butcher shop. And really, it was, he would say he came from the school of hard knocks.
Yes.
And really, it's what you learn on the job. And I tell younger salespeople is get your experience. Earn your stripes, earn your battle scars, get battle tested, quote unquote, get battle tested. And then you'll learn from that. You'll learn from your experience. Not everything is perfect. You want to, get the basic skills. And, I think when companies, especially sales-driven companies, if you hire from those sales-driven companies, you'll understand that they do the basics over and over and over again. Whether that's, cold calling, or whether that's those type of things, is they've already learned the basics. There is no more quote unquote, IBM training program that there
Oh
was in
no,
the 90s.
I agree. I am always been a big fan and an advocate for the basics, or I call it the foundation, because I always
Foundation,
do the foundation. But you look at, even again, this isn't sales, but you can relate it to sales. But like the late great Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul. He would always say the reason why I was always at the top of my game, because I never got away from the basics. So meaning that he would be on the court at 3:00 in the morning, first one on the court, 3:00 in the morning. And he was doing drills that you would do when you were in third, fourth grade.
Yeah.
When you're learning basketball.
Right.
But yet I've been doing this, he said, since that time, and never got away with it. And you wonder why his free throw percentage was so high. His assists were so high. His dribbling skills were fantastic, off the charts. And obviously how he was able to hit, 8, 9 out of 10 times from the perimeter of the court, because of constant practice over and over, sticking with the basics.
I tell, younger salespeople that get into sales is nothing is perfect. Do the basics over and over again. But you know what? Reach out to somebody that can be your mentor. It's having that mentor is so important in, the growth of your career, your personal, your professional growth. And having those type of people in your network is just as important as being successful. It's kind of a twofold strategy, but it's what you need. It's not, I think where today is with technology, it's not where I was when I grew up in sales, where we had a phone and, we had no cards. It was
I had when I started in 1991, 1990, I started working, but it wasn't until 91 I got into sales. It was a Rolodex. Yep. I had an actual Rolodex, and I had a phone with a cord.
That's it. That we had phones with cords, and we had a Rolodex and note cards, and you took notes on the back of the card.
Oh yeah.
And that. I got the opportunity to show some younger salespeople back, after 9/11, some of the things that we had in place, and they would all look at you. If you show that to somebody today, they're all like, "What?" Even I show that to my nephew.
Do that,
right? I mean, people don't understand the technology, and it's really it's easier, but you can't use that as a crutch today. You still got to use the human contact. You got to still have human contact. You still do.
And I can tell you, Eric, even to this day, call me old school, I still write down things. When I'm talking to someone doing a discovery call, in this case with coaching, I'm not sitting there typing or, putting it into my phone. I'm writing it down, even though my handwriting isn't always the best. I find that when I write, I'm processing this information about this person, so it sticks. So it triggers, what's the next question I'm going to ask them that relates and understands them and what's important to them, building that rapport, versus if I'm just typing it, it doesn't register if I'm writing it. Completely different.
You bring up a great point. I mean, that's where younger salespeople can learn from more experienced salespeople that really had to go through more of the basics, because we didn't have the technology in place.
We didn't have all that stuff.
No, we didn't have, CRM, Salesforce. Our Salesforce was note cards. That was our note cards. That was it.
It was a note card, and that's what it was. And then eventually, when Excel came out, it became an Excel spreadsheet. That was my CRM.
Yep. And I think, what, that's where, my generation and your generation really, I hate to say we owe it back to the younger generation to really teach them where we came from, so they have a better understanding and maybe a better appreciation of what they have. So they're able to really be more effective in their jobs. And I speak to, a group twice a week of younger salespeople that we have together. And, I tell them is, take from a conversation, every conversation you should take something from. You should take, one or two things to, follow up on from a customer, or follow up on from you professionally. And, at the end of the day, be more productive. Be more productive and really add value to yourself. Do those things, when I grew up in sales, we read books. We constantly read books. I don't think this younger generation.
Oh, they don't. No, they don't do that. No, 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 no. Not at all. Not at all. No, this has been great. What you've been sharing. I love what you're giving here. We're towards the end of the show here, but I wanted to kind of let the listeners and those listening later a little bit more about how can they get in touch with you. What are you up to, and anything you'd like to leave and offer?
Sure. I mean, for me, they can email me at ebalis at Sales Xceleration. That's sales, SALEX, Xceleration, XCELERATION.com. They can also go on my LinkedIn page at Eric, ERIC, last name Balis, BALIS. Feel free to connect with me. For me, I'm here to help. If there's anything I could do to, help at first. This is not about me. In my profession, I don't really sell anything. I'm here to help first.
Help.
And, if I can't help you, that's fine. But if I can help you, then we'll find a way to, make the commercial aspect work. But for somebody in my role, it's about what I bring. It's a process that I bring. It's my experience that I bring, and my network that I bring to the table.
Well, this is great, Eric. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
We highly encourage you to reach out to Eric Balis here. Again, learn about Sales Xceleration. That's with the Xceleration, CELERATION. Reach out to Eric Balis. Again, read that his email. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes as well. And just to let everybody know, Eric and I are also working on a project together, which we'll be having more information out on the changing state of sales that will be available to view on LinkedIn, where you'll find the information about the event here shortly, and will be available to you to sign up. And we'll make sure that everybody will have a chance to get access to that information to sign up for this game-changing webinar for a wealth of information. Eric, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate you greatly. Listeners, we appreciate you each and every week joining us here, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day, everybody.